Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Today is the third installment of the How to Make a Corset video series, and in this video I'll be sharing with you the materials you need to make a corset. So first and foremost, you will need fabric. Now there are a few options that you can use, however the most preferable is coutil. However, coutil is fairly expensive, so if you can't afford that, then twill will be your next best option. There are other options like canvas or duck, however I prefer twill. Basically you need a very heavy, non-stretch fabric, like so. There is no stretch except for a little bit in the bias, but we want as little stretch as possible because this is a tight-fitted garment and there's going to be a lot of pressure put on it because we're using it to shape our waist, meaning it can't stretch out of shape. Next we need boning. Boning acts as support to stop our corset from squishing down at our waist. Rude! As I was saying, we need boning, and I highly recommend spiral and flat steels, and I recommend that you stay far, far away from plastic. Plastics just generally don't have the rigidity that is needed to support the body and support the figure, and plastics can also break and snap if they're not good quality. There is, however, a product on the market called synthetic whalebone, which would be an okay option. However, from my understanding, it is a little hard to come by and a bit expensive. I like to use a mixture of flat steel and spiral steel boning in my corsets. Here, I have spiral steel. You can see that it is two spirals woven together to create a solid bone. It is very flexible, meaning it is great for the curves of our body. And this is 1/2 inch wide spiral steel. I have worked with the 1/4 inch wide, however I find it is just not enough to support the body. And if you are using 1/4 inch wide, you'll want to use quite a few bones, so it's better to go with the 1/2 inch option. Now all of my hardware I get from Dragontown Corsetry. They are a wonderful company, they ship very fast. They also ship in bulk, which is wonderful for when you're making a lot of corsets or you're doing commissions. Next you'll need flat steel boning, which looks like this. It's also often called spring steel boning. It is very thin, and this one is also a 1/2 inch wide. This one is fairly flexible, however it doesn't twist as well as spiral steel does. So you'll see here that twists very nicely, so if you do have to go around an awkward curve of the body, the spiral steel will support better. Whereas this, if it's going to twist, you're going to get a very harsh edge into your body, and that's going to become painful. Now it's also important to get good quality steels, because if you don't get good quality steels, they can break, snap, rust, and harm your body. You'll also want to make sure that you get tips for your boning. The size of the tips that you get will correspond to the width of the boning that you get. So for instance, Rude! So for instance, I have 1/2 inch spiral steel and flat steel boning, so I get 1/2 inch tips. You can see here they are a horseshoe shape that just goes on the end of our bones once we cut them. And they're about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch thick. You will also want some tools for cutting and tipping your bones. First things first, you will want some wire cutters to cut your spiral steel boning and also to bend and snap your flat steel boning. And then you will want 2 pairs of pliers. Unfortunately, I only have the 1 pair right now. I'm still trying to find the other pair in moving. But I like to use this pair and then a pair of needle nose pliers to grab on and then use the needle nose to pinch the boning. I will show you in the series later on how exactly to tip your bones. Now for mock-up purposes, I like to occasionally wrap the ends of my boning in electrical tape so that way it doesn't cut me as I'm test fitting the corset. Because sometimes we end up needing to cut our bones longer or shorter than what we actually have, that can waste a lot of tips and that can start to add up. So having some electrical tape is a very good option for doing your mock-up tests. Now you'll also need grommets for your corset. Again, I get these from Dragontown Corsetry and I get them in bulk because they have wonderful bulk deals. And these are size 0. Now you have to make note of what size you are getting. Of course it is an aesthetic preference, however whatever size you get you need to have the same size setter, which I will show you later. These are by far the nicest grommets I have ever worked with. They are really high quality, and I don't think I will ever switch so long as Dragontown Corsetry is still in business because I love them very much. So let's go over the anatomy of a grommet. So the first part, the male end, looks like this. So you can see here there is the opening, and it has a little flange or a male end, as we will call it. So this side is the outside. This is what you see when you look at the outside of the corset. And that male end goes through the fabric. Then on the opposite side, the side against our body, is the washer. It does, however, have a very slight curve to it, and the curve needs to go to the inside of our body. So if this is the washer, the curve needs to go out like that. Now they go together like that. Now what happens when you set a grommet is the flange rolls over the washer. Now it's important to get a good quality grommet because, as you can see in the flange here, the male end that has rolled over the washer, you'll see that there are little breaks in the metal. And what happens is these breaks cause snags in your laces and cause them to deteriorate and rip quicker. And then also, this can snag the body. It's rough and it can hurt. And so we want very smooth grommets, high quality grommets against our skin. So here you can see this is the male end of the washer. And then the flange has gone through the fabric. And then this is the washer with the flange rolled over the grommet's edge. Now, depending on the type of corset you are going to make, you might need some hardware. The most common is a busk. You can get these in left-handed and right-handed and in various lengths. You can also get a hook and bar. And you can also get a separating zipper. However, you must be careful when you're getting zippers. You must buy a high-quality metal heavy-duty separating zipper. And that is because a corset is a lot of tension put on the body and the body pushing out against the corset. And if you don't get a good quality zipper, then the body can push and break that zipper. Of course, you will need all the typical sewing tools, such as a sewing machine, some needles that fit the appropriate weight of your fabric, pins, scissors, paper, chalk, marking tools, etc., etc. However, in terms of thread, you will need a good high quality thread. That is because there's going to be a lot of tension on this, and we want to make sure that we have a really nice thread that is not going to pop and break our seams. So I generally prefer name brands like Dual Duty or Coats & Clark, and you can get a general all-purpose thread. You'll also need, of course, an iron, and then optionally, you may want to purchase a tailor's ham. These things are wonderful for ironing out the curves, especially around the hip and waist. If you have a very curvy corset, it can be very difficult to lay your corset flat and iron out your seams after sewing them. So having especially this smaller curve here to put the hip and the waist of your corset on and iron it out is incredibly beneficial and makes the ironing process go a lot faster. And remember, you can pick these up at Joann's for not too expensive with a coupon, of course. Never go to Joann's without a coupon. Now let's talk about the most fun part, which is the outside fabrics. You can use pretty much any fabric you like. Leathers to silks and satins and brocades and even more colorful canvases or twills. You can put any sort of decorations you like on it, like rhinestones, which I love to do. Oh, and lastly, you will need some sort of bias tape or binding for your corset. You can make this out of bias cut strips of the fabric that you're using for your fashion fabric. You will also need some sort of very strong tape to go at the waist to make sure that the waist does not stretch out, since that is the part that we are working on the most to try and whittle down. You can use the cheaper option, which is grosgrain ribbon, which you can get in pretty large packs like this. You'll notice that grosgrain ribbon is quite strong and sturdy. That's going to help keep the compression at the waist even and stop the fabric from stretching out. You can also use twill tape or herringbone cotton tape, which is a little bit more expensive but works just as well. That is it for corset materials. I hope this was helpful. Remember, you can get most of these materials at Dragontown Corsetry. Not only are they fantastic quality, but they have super great customer service, fast shipping, and you can order in bulk, which is really helpful if you do a lot of corsets. If you found this video helpful, consider giving it a share and consider subscribing so you can see the rest of this how to make a corset video series as the videos come out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, cosplay is all about having fun. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!